up, alien army? I am Oculus, the alien next door, purveyor of esoteric lore. And on this channel, we discuss everything out of this world. So today's topic, we are just going to get right into it. We're going to be talking about Mercury and Uranus. And yes, I do call him Uranus because, quite frankly, it tickles me. So Mercury and Uranus in the natal chart. I am going to be discussing this in reference to tropical or Western astrology. That's primarily what I discuss on my channel. So just take what resonates with you. Now, what was being conveyed to me is that if you are familiar with astrology, you are aware that Mercury is of the lower mind, like the personal mind, and Uranus is the higher mind. It's like the outer sphere of consciousness, of the knowing of all that is, whereas Mercury is more on a third dimensional level where they're concerned and trying to find out information and learning things from their physical realm environment. So Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, so I kind of think of it as Mercury sits under the tutelage of Uranus. So essentially, these two in the natal chart, you want them to be working well together. So if you have a connection betwixt Mercury and Uranus, depending on what it is, they might work very well together, or they might have a little bit of a clashing when they attempt to work together. But you can harmonize them by utilizing the traits of the sign placement and the houses, looking at the positive aspects of those, and then incorporating those type of characteristics into the way you communicate with people on a personal level and how you learn things on a personal level, what study methods perhaps work for you, and you can also incorporate the traits of how you simply know information and how to utilize and listen to your intuition when it is guiding you somewhere. So something that I channeled directly was Mercury thinks it knows, Uranus knows it knows. So that is the biggest difference betwixt these two planets. Mercury is constantly thinking. Remember, Mercury has a very quick orbit around the sun, so it's fast. It also governs mutable signs, Gemini and Virgo. So mutable quality with Mercury means that it is erratic. It is back and forth, it is up and down, it is side to side. It's just moving wherever it sees fit. Uranus governs a fixed sign, which is Aquarius. So Uranus is more stable in the sense that it knows and it doesn't need to double check. It doesn't need to fact check anything. It doesn't need to ask opinions or gather more data. It is simply the higher mind sitting clear and confident in its knowing. So when you have these two planets on board together, essentially they are going to be working in tandem to convey information in a way that when you're receiving things from the oversoul, the higher mind, the universal consciousness energy, they are going to be interpreted, these knowings are going to be interpreted via the sign of your Mercury, because it's taking what Uranus brings down from the ethers and it's simply putting it into words or thoughts that your third dimensional monkey mind is going to be able to understand and decipher, and as well convey to others in your immediate environment. So if someone is interested in psychic arts or esoteric things, for example, you're really going to want to look at your Uranus placement in your chart, not necessarily the sign, although that can have some effect, especially if it's in close conjunction with a personal planet or point on the natal chart. but you are going to want to look at its house placement and any aspects to it. So this is going to be the way that you are going to be receiving information, and the information might not make logical sense. So your Mercury placement, you want to look at that too. You're going to interpret the information that Uranus is conveying via Mercury. So if, let's say, someone is psychically inclined, but they're a little doubtful or hesitant how to bring that information into something that is going to make sense on the third dimensional plane, you might want to strengthen your Mercury sign. And you do this by looking at the house placement and seeing what the natal governor of that house is, incorporating positive aspects into that. And you want to look at your Mercury sign, and you want to look at the positive aspects of that Mercury sign and incorporate that as well. Because Mercury, just by default, is jumpy. It's very erratic, it can be chaotic, and it can be doubtful and indecisive of itself. Because remember, Mercury, it thinks it knows. So a shadow aspect of Mercury in one's natal chart is going to be that they might bombard others with things that they think, even though those things might not have anything of substantial value. Whereas Uranus in the natal chart is simply going to sit there, know what it knows, and allows others to decipher for themselves and then formulate their own conclusions. So that's really the difference of it. These two planets working together in harmony, now they don't necessarily have to be aspected in the natal chart in order to work together in harmony, or they can have a square or a semi-square or something where they are going to have a little bit of an adjustment period before they work well together. But like I said, all you have to do is embody and incorporate the positive characteristics of these placements of the house and the sign for Mercury, not necessarily Uranus, unless Uranus is conjunct your moon, your sun, your ascendant, your midheaven. If it's conjuncting something personal, the Mars, the Venus, or if it's conjuncting Mercury, you want to look at both of those obviously, but you want to incorporate positive aspects of these planets and their houses so that you can be functioning at your highest capacity when you are taking in information from your surroundings. And then Uranus will let you know, because it knows, it will tell Mercury, this is right, this is wrong. I know this, you think that, but you do not know that, whereas I know. So if you're familiar with my content, it's when the marriage of thinking and feeling are harmonized, it creates knowing. So thinking something doesn't necessarily mean it's real unless one knows it, because one can think many things, but their emotions might not be on board with their thoughts. There's a mismatch there, whilst knowing simply is. It sits there and it knows. It doesn't double check, it doesn't question, it doesn't do anything, because it already knows that it knows. So that is a little breakdown of what Mercury and Uranus essentially mean in the natal chart, and they basically are letting someone download and compute and share and analyze information that is bestowed upon them from the ethers. I am Oculus, the alien next door, and we will chit chat again soon.